4 out of the first 6 CSGO majors were hosted by ESL. Fast forward to today and ESL has hosted only one major in 5 years. This is not by chance. Over the years, ESL became a de facto monopoly and then used this power to sign exclusivity agreements with top teams, further strengthening their grip on the scene. Valve isn't happy with that and has taken active steps to stop ESL's power grab. The most important one is the introduction of new rules for tournament organizers in 2025. I will talk about how we got to this point and what ESL did to piss off Valve. To understand how we got to this point, we have to look at the history. ESL was founded in 2000 and is now the oldest esport company still in operation. Over the years, ESL grew bigger and stronger. By the time I got into CSGO esports in 2013, ESL was already that name brand. Cologne and Katowice, they were and still are the highlights of the year. You rarely had those frustrating hour-long tech pauses or low-quality production moments like PGL's audio not working for the first few matches of the major. If you think about it, esports is an industry where new companies come and go like money in my Steam inventory. Having decades of experience like ESL is a huge advantage. And as the years passed, so did their advantage, and at some point they sat in a dominant position in the sector. That's when they felt most confident to reveal their new system. In 2020, ESL introduced the Louvre Agreement. According to ESL, the agreement was supposed to bring stability to the esports scene, but it ended up bringing stability only to ESL. But how does this agreement work? It is a partnership between 16 esport teams and ESL, an equal partnership. The teams and ESL vote on different issues like tournament formats or schedules. Both sides have obligations. The partner teams need to participate and promote ESL events. In return, they get a share of the revenue stream ESL generates. ESL is obligated to host events with a certain amount of prize money and guarantees the partner teams permanent slots in those events, regardless of how well they perform. In return, ESL can guarantee to sponsors that the high caliber teams will be attending their events, and that makes a huge difference in the amount of money these sponsors are ready to pay. So it's a win-win for everybody. More money for teams and ESL. Sadly, the search for higher profit can lead to some things being lost along the way. The loss of competitive integrity. When I said that teams have permanent slots 30 seconds ago, I was lying. There is a performance clause. Partner teams have a permanent slot in Pro League every season. The permanent slot shall be subject to review if a partner team places last in their group in 3 out of 4 seasons. And we know they had an option to review. Our favorite underperformer, Evil Geniuses. Between ESL Pro League Season 13 and 18, EG finished last in their group in 4 out of 6 seasons. Also last in their group in 3 out of 4 seasons. So ESL and the partner teams either had a vote and decided they want to keep EG or decided not to vote at all. But why would they do that? I mean, they have some motivation in making the tournaments more competitive and interesting to watch. The big problem is that the Louvre Agreement creates a system where it makes sense to keep struggling teams inside the circuit. As a partner team, your financial payout is dependent on how well you perform. Each partner team's individual revenue share is based on the number of events attended, competitive result and viewership. So when you keep a team like EG in the circuit, you'll get an easier opponent that will lead to higher rankings and therefore more money. Just take Eternal Fire, a non-partner team. In one season, Season 20, they managed to get to the final. They won more best of 3 matches in that one season than EG did in 6 seasons total. As another partner team, why would you remove EG or even let Eternal Fire join as a new partner, which other partners can vote on by the way, when it means they might take a number 2 spot from you? Since the partner teams are obligated to participate in ESL events and the revenue share is dependent on how many events are attended, it puts a lot of pressure on the other event organizers. They are squeezed for space on the competitive calendar. Think about it, ESL Pro League, which runs twice a year, is 3 weeks long. So that's already 6 weeks. Add in other ESL tournaments, And then add travel, bootcamp time and other factors to these tournaments, and there's not much space left for those teams to attend other events. Through the help of this agreement, they became an even bigger force. In 2022, ESL hosted 5 out of 7 major tournaments. Already at this point, Valve was not happy with ESL's position in the scene. They rarely get to host a major. They would rather give the major to PGL, even though PGL hired the first dev audio engineer. Then something happened that I think made Valve even more worried. In 2020, someone saw that things at ESL were going really well, in esports in general, and they wanted a part of the pie, but an even bigger pie than ESL already had. Savvy Games Group, which is a subsidiary of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, bought ESL for $1 billion, which is kind of a historic number to invest into an esports company. They didn't stop there. They also bought FACEIT, which is the largest third-party matchmaking service. If you don't know what FACEIT is, this is a huge deal. Basically, everyone who plays Counter-Strike regularly uses FACEIT for matchmaking. Savvy owns the biggest tournament organizers and the biggest matchmaking service. But their investments don't stop there. They own companies like Windex, which provides a lot of infrastructure for tournament organizers and not just ESL. DreamHack is also a part of Savvy now. Savvy's goal is to have a dominant position in the esports industry. According to their own reports, they own 40% of the esports industry. Not just Counter-Strike, but the entire industry. When I was researching this topic, I found something that made me smile. Savvy owns Scopely, which is a mobile app developer. Scopely has the Monopoly Go app. And there's an actual ESL Monopoly board game. I think Savvy wants to tell us something about their intentions. Savvy has this dominant position in esports. They have basically limitless resources. They are coming out with events like Gamers 8 and the Esport World Cup, which are huge events that are directly organized by Savvy and not by ESL. But someone has been watching the whole situation and is not happy with it. Valve, the developer of Counter-Strike. In the community, Valve often gets criticized for not fixing game issues quickly enough or being lazy with new content. But there's one area where they don't mess around. Competitive integrity. When uncertainty with the Snap Tap feature arose, Valve just few days later drew a clear line in the sand. When there were conflicts of interest between team ownership before a major, Valve stepped in. In many ways, Valve is like a sleeping giant, dormant most of the time. But when it matters, he steps in. From 2025 onwards, Valve introduced a new rulebook, essentially taking more control of the esports world. They set clear rules on how tournaments should operate, effectively shutting down partner leagues as we know them. Partner programs like the Louvre Agreement can't work for tournaments anymore. The rulebook states that if revenue sharing is done, it must be done equally across all teams attending, and you can't just invite the teams because you have agreements with them. You need to invite them based on the VRS, Valve's new ranking system. All of these mentioned changes effectively target the Louvre Agreement and ESL, hopefully restoring competitive integrity to its prior state. If the new rulebook can actually change the power balance is to be seen. Maybe ESL will find a new way to consolidate their power, but I am confident that this will improve the tournament scene and I am excited for the future.